Hello and welcome to the Not My Job pod. I am your host, Emily Gant, and my guest today is Werner Graf, who is a current parliamentary group leader of the Berlin Greens, and alongside Bettina Jarasch, is the party's lead candidate for the Abgeordnetenhaus election on September 20th. If the Greens make it back into government, Werner is the one who would become the governing mayor. He's been in the party since 1997, joined the Abgeordnetenhaus, Berlin State Parliament in 2021, and he has spent the last 3 years as the loudest voice against the CDU-SPD coalition he's now trying to unseat. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to talk to you.
I'm really just interested, first and foremost, to hear a little bit about you. Is it true you've been a member of the Green Party since 1997?
Yeah, since a very long time now. And I was always a political person. Also, it started in the third grade that I was into a church, and I was an altar boy. And I talked with my pastor so long to start a shop for fair trade shop in this there in the third grade. And I think this was my first political not movement, but action I did, because I was very interested in, the things of justice and freedom, and talked really a lot about this. And then also the topic of environment come up a lot of times in my when I was young. So 1997, I joined the Green Party because this was for me the perfect combination from freedom, justice, and social questions. And now I'm here.
Amazing. In 30 years, you've been in opposition, in a coalition, back in opposition. So what kind of keeps you in the same party that long? Or have you ever considered switching to something else?
If you be so long in one party, there are up and downs. And for me as well, when I was the spokesperson or the leader of the Green Youth in Germany also, and there was the discussion of Afghanistan and if you're going to war or not. And I was very opposed to this, together with Hans-Christian Ströbele, for example. And when the party talked about it, I was one of the person who really said, no, we shouldn't go there. And after the party said that we go there, that was for me the hardest time to stay in the party. But on the other side, I really think in this combination for freedom and justice, and also like the social topics, in the combination of all this, the Green Party is the best one I can imagine. So no party is perfect. There are many people coming together, over 100,000, 140,000, I think it's in the Green Party. So many people come together, have different positions. And so it's normal that it's not only my position. Especially when I'm looking to Berlin, I think we are the one who have the best program, and it's like we have programs for lower rent, but also for the traffic to go more to public traffic or bicycles, and also, the environment and how will it affect us? How can we use more solar energy or things like this? I think there's the best combination. And I think Berlin has to come back on track. So we're just going the wrong direction the last 3 years, and I like to change them.
Mm-hmm. So as far as Berlin politics, what is the one thing you think voters should be really angry about?
It's not only one thing in the meantime. So I also already said that rent is a very big topic, and I think the government in the moment are not acting enough. We have suggested a law where we say that the big companies who make very much money with the rent, we will force them that they have to lower their rents, and then they have to invest in the buildings they have. So, and we also say if they don't follow the rules, we don't want them in the Berlin market anymore. So we just have a law for this, and we think the government is that doesn't do anything like forcing these companies. And on the other side, we say we have to build flats, but if you see, we have 2 million kilometers of office who are empty and not used. And we like to transform them to flats, to shared flats, also for migration, people coming here, so that we can use this also for older people to use what they have, and not just on the Tempelhofer or things like this, just on green fields to build new flats. So this is one of the things, lower the flats. And of course, Green Party, we have the environment is very important for us. So we like to see that the green and parks and things like we have to protect them. And we need to have another traffic in Berlin. So we want to have less cars. And for us, it's important that nobody dies anymore in the traffic. So we'd like to have protected bike lanes, but also we don't like the bus and the train is coming on time. So this is why we would like to buy much more wagons. I don't know how to say it in English, I'm sorry. So that it's coming on time. And the third thing is that we really have to make an effort that Berlin is the city of freedom. That means also for the culture that here's coming up with the clubs and things like this, that we will protect them, but also in fighting against the right wings and to forbid the AfD. So these are the 3 points: freedom, environment, and lower rent.
Excellent. So let's dig in a little deeper, I guess, to those 3. I know I got very lucky in my Berlin housing journey that I didn't have to fight very hard for a flat, but I know that's not common for most people here. And I read a lot about the Mietendeckel in 2020 that was struck down in the Constitutional Court because Berlin doesn't actually have the ability to regulate rent levels since that's federal law. So I'm curious what actually could be done at the state level.
So we really looked into the situation with the Mietendeckel, and when it was at court and the court decided, we just read this really detail what we can do. And this is why we made the effort rent law, and suppose that we will make this effort. So this means that the companies who offers rents in a big situation, we will force them to lower the rents on a part of their houses. So it depends how big the company is and how many flats they are renting. And for this, from 10 to 30%, we say they have to go down under the normal rent on 20%. So this is the one thing. And the others that they have to invest in their houses, because often the companies just look at the houses, don't invest in them, and the houses get better and better, and worse. So, and this is not something we want, and we want to force them on these 2 topics. And on the third point, we say, if you don't do this, we will force you that you have to sell your houses, because we just want to have companies here who stay to the law. And we often see that companies who rent flats, they don't get punished enough if they don't stick to the law. So they do what they want, or they just pay the things they have to pay from the pocket. So this is very for us important. So we suggested this law. We call it affordable rent law. So this is one of the points. And the other point is, as I said, we'd like to see the big amount of empty offices to change them into flats and shared flats.
I've heard a lot of in the press that you have talked about banning bad actor property firms outright. Is it possible to actually give them a Hausverbot, or is that kind of one of those fun talking points?
Oh, it is possible. It cannot be the first thing we can do. We have just in the first step, we have to punish them with money, and that they have to pay something. If they do it again, we can say we take your flats and rent it to people and give it you back. It's called Treuhänder in Germany. And on the third step, we can say, okay, you don't stick to the law, and so oftentimes now you have to sell it, and you are not allowed to rent flats here anymore.
Interesting. I would love to see that happen.
Yeah, me too.
I think one of the other of the three pillars you mentioned is also arts and culture, which I do find to be incredibly important. Berlin's culture budget has been cut something like 130 to 150 million euros across the last two cycles. And it's mind-boggling to me that the culture budget is suffering this much in a city that is defined by the culture. So I'm curious, what is your perspective on either whether that's nightclubs or museums or
So we opposed very loud to this because for us, the culture is something unique for Berlin. The people are coming to Berlin because of the culture, because of the clubs, because of the theater, because of the music and things like this. This is something very unique for Berlin. Also in an economic way, it brings money to Berlin, and this is a really wrong decision. It also was for me a very big point to come to Berlin because I love the club scene. I was there really a lot, and the people are coming for this. And if you see, the first is in the economic way, but it's not only economic. We see at the moment that the right wings are coming up, and they are also affecting the culture very, very much because they want not that the culture is talking about critical things, and they see that often culture is something which brings up the voices. And we need in times like this, where the right wings coming up, culture for discussing topics which affects the society. And this three things, it's unique for Berlin. It's very important for the economy and for the democracy. So are the points we say we have to invest into culture and not cut the budget. And for us, another point I would like to make is that for us it's very, very important that the money is giving to the culture by juries, not by the politics. That politics say this is the amount of money, and then juries, people who decide in which direction should it go, say where the money should go, and not like politicians in the parliament say, okay, this is a good culture event and this is a bad one, because this what the right wings want, and we want free culture and free speak.
I'm personally invested in this one because I'm in a artist collective, and we put on a number of events throughout the city. But I would say in the last 2 or 3 years, it's just been impossible to get funding. So even within the budget cuts that we're seeing now, is there any, I guess, opportunity for artists to apply that maybe they hadn't thought about before or hadn't considered before?
There are different ways. So also the Lotto Stiftung is sometimes a good suggestion to go there because there's still money. And if you're having a project for 1 or 2 years for once, the Lotto Stiftung is a good idea to go there. But on the other side, we have to change the politic. Like I said, we have to bring Berlin back on track. And this is something, especially in the culture position, that it changed in the last 3 years. So we had a big discussion about that the Conservative Party didn't stick to the law. And they said, we have now this list, and this person should get the money. And we don't want this. We want juries who are deciding beside the politics where the money should go.
How would you explain to someone who maybe doesn't understand Berlin club culture why is it so important to this city? Because I think to an outsider, and maybe you have friends and family, and outside of Berlin that also don't, get it. How do you explain why that's so imperative to the city itself?
If I just say it from my way, because Berlin has the best clubs in the world, and it's nice to make party here, and we have to protect this. So this is very important. But on the other side, so it was always a point for Berlin who was unique also in the world. So like we are discussing with Detroit who invented techno. And I say Berlin did it, but Detroit thinks they have been it. But I think both were very important in this issue. And also it is a thing many people come to the city to make party here, to go to the clubs. And if tourists come to Berlin, if people come to Berlin, they are bringing money, and we need this money also. And it's creating jobs here, a lot of jobs also around this, also for the hotels and not only for the clubs. So, and they are coming for the culture. And one of this culture topic is the club culture. And with the Berghain, we have a club which is famous all over the world, but also the Schwutz was a very famous club for queer people and was known all over the world. And I know people from America, from Austria, who just came into Berlin because of the Schwutz, because it was for them safe space to be queer, to be free, and we have to save this. And we have a suggestion that we would like to give clubs money if they are protecting or bringing up new DJs. Because one of the big problem is that they are just having off big labeling with famous DJs, and then the people are coming. And the clubs who are investing in new DJs, coming up DJs, it's harder for them. And we like to help them also with money from the state, so that Berlin can be the place where culture gets up, where young DJs coming up. And this is very important also for jobs,
Mhm.
but it's also
Yeah,
fun.
I guess, yeah, also fun. I think that's why it is one of those issues that I do find interesting, because on one hand it just sounds like, oh, we just like partying, but then on the other hand it is jobs, it is about infrastructure, it's about tourism.
If you're looking to Berlin, I think Berlin has two very important issues if it comes to the economy of Berlin. And the one is society and the other is culture. And this is the main topics in economy for Berlin, because this is why people come, this is why jobs get created, why new startups coming up, why companies coming here to Berlin. And I know many companies who said they are coming to Berlin because of the culture surroundings. And so, yeah, these are the 2 points very important.
I do wonder though, because for example, I know a lot of companies started headquarters here because the rents at the time were quite cheap, and so they could also pay lower salaries. And I work for actually an American company, and they were shocked by, I think, how much I was asking, because the salaries now in Berlin, they've gone up because the cost of living has
Yeah.
has gone up. So how do you think politics can balance kind of that cost of living increase while also attracting companies that either stimulate the economy or attracting tourists who no longer find Berlin as cheap as it used to be?
So the rising prices is a problem in whole Germany. So we cannot solve this only alone in Berlin, but we can do some points. One of the biggest points is the rent. We also talked about this. So this would be very important. Um, on the other side, we have to help people to go through the life. We have a suggestion with an energy fund that we say that we'd like to give persons who have not so much money 1/3 of their energy for free in the year. So that this would be around 300 euros that they have to pay less. So I think it's for the state to see who needs help and then help them with special kinds like this energy support. Or on the other side, we like to make the public traffic very cheap, not expensive, cheap. And we say for €9 a month, you should travel all over Berlin.
So you're a fan of bringing the Deutschland ticket back down to 9 euros?
Yeah, we are.
I want to talk about that a little bit. I think Berlin transport is also a matter of perspective sometimes, because for me, coming from the United States, I think Berlin transport is incredible. But then whenever I talk to someone from Berlin or elsewhere in Germany, they're like, oh, it's always late, or they have complaints about it. So how do you kind of see the future of transportation in Berlin? Does it need work? Does it function well? What is your opinion there?
So first of all, I understand, and the time I moved to Berlin, for me it was the same. I think it's very, very good. We have a lot of tubes, buses, S-Bahn who's coming often. But in the moment, we see that it's getting worse every day. So you're going to the tube and have to wait 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And this is something we like to change. So it's much more about having public transportation you can rely on, and you know it's coming on time. You go to the station and the bus or the train is coming, and you don't have to wait in half an hour, because this was something very great and I really loved in Berlin. I never looked to a schedule, and I just go to the station and the train or the bus was coming, and this was a feeling of free for me, and we have to come back there. So this is why we have to invest to get more tubes that they are coming on time.
Easier said than done, I think.
We had, as we've been in the government 3 years ago, we just had a plan for that, and we offered, I don't know the term for the wagon, I don't know.
Like
We
the carriages.
yeah, said like we want to buy 1,500 pieces of them. And the government now says, oh, we don't need so much. We only take 700. And we want to go back to the old plan, back on track to the 1,500, because we think we need this. And we have the companies, we have the plans to do this. We just go back to the old thing. So it's not so hard.
Okay. I am interested though, because there's so much money at play with outside factors, like, for example, the construction of the growing Autobahn in Berlin, and yeah, just more infrastructure for cars, it feels like lately. So how, I guess, let's say, you go into government, you get a majority, everything's, easy in that way. How easy theoretically is it to roll back a lot of these things that are already in progress that are pro cars?
So to be honest, it's not the easiest way. So the budgets of the state and the city is going down, and we don't have so much money like in the past years. So we have to deal with this. And there are 3 points we have to see and we have to take care about. The one is, as you said, there are many spendings from the city which we don't think are right. The Autobahn, we don't need this in the moment, or we don't think we don't need it at all. So there are some other traffic streets they like to build. We don't think we need them. And this is really often very, very expensive. We have some planning for something called TVO near to Marzahn, which would cost 300 to 400 million euros just for that. But we don't think we have to spend this. On the otherwise, we are very against running for the Olympic Games here. This is also very expensive. We just give up for like we say, we want to apply for this 6 million euros. So we can save quite a lot of money with some things we think you don't need to do. On the other side, we have to take credits. This is something the Green Party like to do. And on the third point, we have to see how can we get more money. So if you're parking your car, it costs you for the whole year 10 euros. And we think that's really too less. And we want to increase that. We like to have a tax on single-use issues. If you have like this coffee to-go cups and things like this, we want to go more like do more use. And so like to tax this, though there are just, and we can go up with the tax for buying a house. So just when we have the same tax for buying houses like Brandenburg, we would get 100 million euros more per year. So these are the 3 points, like we can get the budget in Berlin right again.
There's kind of a reputation with the Green Party, the Verbotspartei, that you're the forbidden party. Like, you're always saying no. So like no parking spaces, no cars, no plastic cups. Do you have an opinion on that
Yeah,
joke?
we say yes to a clean city. So
Mhm.
we say yes to a city where the person don't die in traffic. We say yes to a city where the public transportation comes on time. We say yes to a city with lower rents and which builds up or make from empty offices flats. So we have a lot of we like to, but as well we don't like dirty city, and we say no to this. That's true.
And then I'm curious as well, because what makes me laugh, and granted, it's the internet, so the internet's a crazy place, but I think sometimes I post a video and some people will describe the Greens as, super conservative capitalists. And then some people describe the Greens as like awful communists, terrible, it's always awful because it's the internet. But I guess where do you see the Greens sitting on the political spectrum? And what does that mean for me either?
We are a left-wing party, so especially in Berlin, we are on the right-left. We are interested in our environment, also in the economy, but environment as well. And as I said, for lower rents and having better traffic, also for people who walk or go by bicycle or with the public transportation, this is our focus.
Mhm. But for example, like today when I looked, polling right now has the Greens at 16%, tied with the AfD for third, behind both CDU and Die Linke. So I guess if you were to win, what does that realistically look like? What coalition would you form? What would those compromises start to look like?
We are a left-wing party, so this would be much. And also, when we go to the topics and to the program, and we'll have a look into the program from the Social Democrats or from the left party, there are much more common points than to the Conservative Party, and this is why we have always preferred a coalition with them, also
Hmm.
with the left wings and Social
Yeah,
Democrats.
of course. So because most of my listeners as well don't know a whole lot about German politics. So I'm curious, what's your perspective on what are the things that, for example, the Greens agree with Die Linke on? Like, obviously, housing is a big one, but then probably Die Linke would be more extreme in wanting to expropriate big landlords. But what are kind of the issues where maybe Die Linke and the Greens do see eye to eye?
I don't think there's a big difference between the Linke and us in the topic of rent and housing. So we are quite similar. They have a similar law like we. They just called it another way. I think security housing law or something like this. So this is quite parallel. I think for public transportation and fighting for bicycle riders and things like this, we are much more into this. We have a much more focus on the topic like environment and solar city and things like this. Also now it's Berlin getting hotter and hotter, and how can we cool down the city? It's very important for us, like the parks and carving up a city where the rain and water goes into the earth and the trees can drink this water again. So these are topics which affect us very much. Also, Autobahn, for example. And then for us, it's the question of democracy and freedom and the equal rights for men and women, especially, and how it's about migration and being an open society. This is very important for us.
Definitely. I think, yeah, for myself, I haven't chosen a party that I am affiliated with, but I do find German politics to just be very interesting and that it is all about compromise and that it's kind of slow by design from the sounds of it. Is there ever been, I mean, I'm sure there are times where you just wish that, you could choose one way or the other, but is there a compromise in the past that you are quite proud of from your time, over the course of your career?
I think what we did in the 7 years or 6.5 years here in Berlin, when we ruled together with the Social Democrats and the lefts, in a 3-year coalition was very, very good for the city. So we started to build more schools. We started to build protected bike lanes, also migration decentral, not in big places anymore. So I think this 6.5 years for Berlin was very, very good. So, this is why we said bringing Berlin back on track. Yeah, I think it's always, I like this with the compromises in the German politic ways, because I think it's always very good if you have to sit down with other people and discuss your opinion and talk about this. And so mostly the things coming up on the end are better than before. So I like this art we are making politic here.
The question of migrants in Berlin is a big one as well.
Yeah.
I think it's so difficult because I think it's 20% of the city actually can't vote. And so Berlin leans more politically conservative than many people would expect based on the cultural reputation. So how do you kind of try to talk to different voter groups, or do you have to change your messaging, or what issues that you speak to within each voter group?
So I don't think it really works if you talk to each group in another way, because in the end you have to make one politics things and ways. So this is kind of hard. Of course, you have to talk to everyone again, and there are different ways, but I don't think it's only the part of migration, because we also have a very young society one there, and but also older people who don't just see this newspaper the same way, or getting the news on different ways. So this is how we have to deal. So in every part. But on another point, I'd like to say also to the persons who view this on the level of the districts, like Friedrichshain-Kreuzberg or Mitte, Steglitz-Zehlendorf and things like this, every person in the European Union can vote. You don't have to be German to vote there. You can vote if you like on this level of the Bezirke, we call it here.
Yeah. And do you think those elections are very, very important? Because I think I made a video about how European Union citizens can vote in the Bezirksverordnetenversammlung, and I had so many friends who had no idea that that was allowed. And then the follow-up question is kind of, does it matter? So what decisions can be made at that level that you would encourage somebody to vote at that level?
On this level, the really, really concrete and direct decisions are made. So in which street we will build a bicycle lane is decided on this level. How the parks are cleaned are decided on the direct thing on this level. If there's a house that the district will buy to protect the renters in there is decided on this level. On this level, many things you directly live is affected on is decided on this level. So yes, it's very, very important. And I just go to the votes and vote because, yeah, it's about your life.
And do you think it's been more difficult than expected to mobilize younger voters, or is that something that you're seeing obviously the conservative, the AfD is seeing a big increase in young voters, but how are you kind of getting young voters excited about politics?
What we have to see is that the way people inform themselves or getting the news changed really a lot. Yeah, 10, 20 years ago, you have to be in the newspaper or in the radio station or TV spots and the news in the TV. And this changed for young people enormously. So there are podcasts like this, or Instagram and Reels or TikTok is important. So of course we are making also ways. So we have to talk to newspapers, but we also try to contact young people over Instagram. So of course, but that's true that that we see in the moment that many younger people getting more conservative or right wings. So this affects us very much. This is why we like to talk quite a lot in the new social media.
Do you think that or I guess, how do you feel about the change of social media during your career in politics? Because I just find the whole thing so bizarre, and it's just crazy now. There's like this blurred line between, I don't know, influencer, politician, celebrity, and they're all in one place, and they're all kind of accessible in the same way. So how has your social media journey been throughout your career?
I like social media. I didn't was into X or Twitter and things like this. This was not my kind. It was too fast, too short and things like this. But I like to be on Instagram. So I tried this really too much time in my life. It's sometimes hard, but for politics, I don't think it's always only good, because it is short and you have to be on point, and it's not like you can discuss a longer time and having thoughts like how you think about things. It's just like it's one sentence, and this have to be very on the point, as I said, and then it's just hard and people getting emotionally very fast. And sometimes it's like, especially as green politician, you get a lot of hate there. So this sometimes I think it would be good for the society and for the political area that we cool down everybody a little bit and just talk again in normal ways. And I think social media sometimes, like, especially the design of social media and the algorithms and what they like and how you share and things like this are designed not to come together and more to divide people. And I think we have to talk about how to design systems in a way that we come together again. And there are points I think we can discuss about this, but to be true, this is not the topic we can decide in Berlin. So this is a topic we have to decide in Europe. But we could talk about how the system must have the design. There is sharing really a good thing? Is liking really a good thing? Have they to open up their algorithms and have you just that you can see how does it work? And is it possible to cross over the systems? So if you're making a film for Instagram, why can't you see it with another by TikTok or by YouTube or a very small system? So we have to open up this.
But to bring it, the reason why I'm asking and to bring it back to Berlin is because with the rise of the extreme right, I think a lot of that is because the things you just described that benefit the algorithm, hate or love,
Yeah.
big divide, quick points. The AfD can very easily say, we don't like immigrants in 5 seconds, and that gets an emotional reaction and it goes viral. And it's a lot harder to say, we want bike lanes, which is a reasonable thing to want. It doesn't go viral because it's not,
Yeah.
something that provokes an emotional response. So I guess in your campaign, what's kind of been your social media strategy to talk to new people and kind of not get the same audience that you often get on social media?
You have to be on point on social media. So you can't make a 2-hour video. Nobody's looking that. So we have to make our program in short films, in short discussions, of course. But I think on the other side, we have to take the places against hate. So it's not okay that hate speech and coming up all the time. So we have to lower down the voices, I think, and we try to do this. So, but we also it's also like we have fun at work, so the people can see this, and of course we're making short films and things like that. Just what the points from our program. So.
I find it frustrating to see that the AfD is currently polling level with the Green Party. So I guess that kind of phrase, Berlin holds the line against the far right, do you think that still actually describes the city? Or, is
We will
that
see it
more
in
of a...
September, and I hope so. Berlin was for me always the city of freedom and the city where we are standing against right wings. And I think in September with the votes, we can show Germany and all the world that Berlin is still the city of freedom. And I hope it will be that way, because social media is not everything. And it's not like the people who are shouting the loudest are the people who are the most. And September, we will see how Berlin is.
Definitely. And let's see, I also wanted to talk a little bit about, obviously for my listeners who, an increasing number of them can vote because of the new citizenship laws at the federal level.
Yeah.
When it comes to the labor market in Berlin, right now there's kind of an issue of integration. And so when there's this failure of labor market integration, who's kind of to blame? Is that on the federal level, or do you think that's the Senate? Is that something Berlin has control over
The most
fixing?
is just in Germany, in the federal level. We can do some things, but it's quite hard. So we had a big problem with the couriers here in the moment, because a lot of couriers are employed in a very hard way and they don't get minimal wages and things like this. This is why we say we want to have a law that every courier has to be direct employed by the company, especially Lieferando and things like this. And we always say everywhere where's Lieferando written on it, Lieferando has to be inside also. So, but this is a law on federal level. So we can make some things, especially if we call it in Berlin Vergabe, when we as Berlin making efforts or things like we're building up and making contracts with companies that they have to stick to special rules from Berlin. But the most thing including is on federal level.
And then I guess to expand on that, how do you see the question of integration as a whole? Because Berlin is a very international city where sometimes I order coffee in German and the waitress says, "I'm sorry, I don't speak German." So I guess my question is, yeah, as someone from Germany, living in a very international city, where do you see the responsibilities of the city to consider the needs of this 20% that can't actually vote?
First of all, I love it that Berlin is an international city. And I think it's also okay to order the coffee once in English. So it's the unique situation in Berlin. So it's nice. The second thing is we have to have international helpings for people who are coming here. So I don't get the English term. I would like to say Beratung. When we help people, so when they're coming here, that we help them with the law in different languages, especially what are the laws for rent, what are the laws for employees. So this can be much more better than it is now in the moment. I think especially for many people, there would be a good thing to make it online and help them on this way. So we could have just a better information for these people. We just see it often, especially what's about employee rights or rights by housing, that the people don't know their rights. We have to help them in this way. We like to go up with the schools, that we have more different languages in the schools and bringing up the German as a second language and having the first language in another way, because this is also something very good for the children and to go in a better way. So I think there are some things we can do.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And then my final question that I had was actually from a friend of mine. He's here as a freelancer,
Yeah.
and so that's obviously a very different tax situation. And the question was, is there anything that can be done at the state level that can benefit kind of the changing world of the labor force that might not be in full-time employment? So is there anything that the city can do to improve life for that group specifically?
It depends. I think this is not one issue we can do for everyone, but for different kinds. So, for example, in the culture, we do have a lot of malls who are also empty in the moment. And we can discuss if we're making up them for coming up for ateliers for people making art, or so that we help them, that they find a cheap way to make their business. So this could be one suggestion.
I would love to see more ateliers, fewer chain restaurants, maybe.
And
I know most important topics for you being transport and rents here in Berlin, and also kind of that arts and culture aspect of things. But is there, yeah, any other topics or anything you'd like to say that we didn't already touch on?
especially for taking care of about our environment is also a very, very big issue for our screens, and democracy. So go and vote. This would be very, very important for the next time.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, that's the biggest thing that I would like to get everyone doing in September
Yeah,
is vote, and preferably not for the far right. So,
this would be
all
very
right,
good. Vote
excellent.
democratically.
Yes, vote democratically. I think that's the bare minimum. All right. Well, thank you, Werner, so much for being here. I wish you the best in September.
Yes, thank you very much.